Why didn't you tell us where you were?
Because I knew you'd get mad. See, look how mad you are.
I'm not mad!
The studio was nervous because Todd Phillips wasn't necessarily as big as he was now, obviously, but then also it was the people that he cast. They were saying, you know, we don't know if this is a sure thing to be a hit. And they actually ended up cutting his salary. But in a genius move, what he did was he said, I'll take 16% of the back end. So that got him close to $70 million.
Am I all right over there, Alan? Yeah, you're good. All right.
Oh my God!
Time for the greatest show fi start anew. The ringmaster James, him step inside the frame with a wide angle.
It was a joke, Howdy. A joke.
Good morning and welcome back to Cinema Clown Around episode 7. I'm your host James, and today we're going to go over the filmography of Todd Phillips, and we're going to focus on some of his movies. We're going to start with the Hangover trilogy, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Old School, Road Trip. You know, just to get us started, I'd like to remind everybody to go ahead and comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let me know if there's any topics, any actors or movies or anything you'd like me to cover. So to get started, the Hangover trilogy. We got The Hangover from 2009. Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis.
Seriously, I don't care what happens. I don't care if we kill someone. What? You heard me.
Justin Bartha and Ken Jeong all are in the cast. And this is also a Warner Brothers production. What was pretty interesting about this, even before they got started filming it, was the studio was nervous because Todd Phillips wasn't necessarily as big as he was now, obviously, but then also it was the people that he cast. They were saying, you know, we don't know if this is a sure thing to be a hit. And they actually ended up cutting his salary. But in a genius move, what he did was he said, I'll take 16% of the back end. So that got him close to $70 million, which, I mean, that seems like a pretty good bet to take on. He must have known something about it.
TV before.
Really? Really, Alan?
Yeah.
And, you know, there actually were some script rewrites once they brought in Phillips. He brought in an uncredited writer, and they were able to add things like the tiger, the stolen cop car, the missing tooth, Mike Tyson, and the baby that they find in the hotel. So, you know, without all of that stuff added to the movie, it's not the same film that we got.
Will you put on some pants?
Phil, do not go in the bathroom.
Al, just calm down. Sweet.
Phil, there is a tiger in the bathroom.
What's going on?
I'm thankful that that uncredited writer was brought in. And what's actually pretty fascinating is Ed Helms, who plays Stu. There's a scene where throughout the whole film, he's missing one of his teeth. And they said that he actually had a dental implant removed during filming to do that, which, I mean, that's commitment to a role, if you ask me. And, you know, look at the legacy that this film made, the first Hangover from 2009. I mean, you know, we're approaching the 20-year mark. We're a few years away. And $469 million worldwide for a comedy, which briefly became the highest grossing R-rated comedy in the United States, too. So, I mean, pretty big deal considering they started with relatively unknown stars at the time.
Am I all right over there, Alan? Yeah, you're good.
Oh my God!
And this actually also ended up winning a Golden Globe for Best Comedy. So not a big surprise there. But I saw this one at the movies, I remembered, in the summer of 2009. Packed house, there were a ton of people there, and I went with one of my good friends, and we loved the film. And you could tell by the audience reception, everyone was laughing throughout the film. Everybody stayed, because they have a montage of photographs that they took throughout the night before, but they were blacked out, so they don't actually have any memory of taking the photographs. And they're all a bunch of goofy stuff, but the whole audience stayed for it all. And, you know, 2009, that was kind of the summer of The Hangover. Everybody was talking about it. You heard, I mean, people were going to see it months after it came out because, I mean, it was that good. And I guess the question is, does it hold up? I recently watched it, and I think that it does. It's just because it's that mystery film where they wake up with no recollection of what happened the night before in a Vegas hotel room. That kind of takes away from further rewatches because you kind of know all the beats and what's coming. So it's one of those films you kind of have to wait a few years in between. This is also pretty interesting because they had a major focus on Vegas culture in the film and just what this did for Vegas culture. I'm sure you see a ton of those people who, the celebrities or the people who look like celebrities or Spider-Man out there in Vegas taking pictures with people. You know, there's definitely that Zach Galifianakis guy. I think I actually saw something on the internet saying the guy was able to make an entire career out of just being a lookalike for Zach Galifianakis.
Oh, how cute. What's his name?
Ben. Carlos.
In The Hangover, which that sounds like a pretty interesting life. That guy should definitely write a book or something. Now, Bradley Cooper.
He's a dentist. Don't get too excited. And if someone has a heart attack, you should still call 911.
We'll be sure to do that.
He wasn't as big as he was before The Hangover.
It's no big deal. We can share beds one night.
Oh, if we share beds, I'm bucking with Phil. You good with that?
No, I'm not good with that.
He had that scene in Wedding Crashers, and he was in a few other films. He also actually was in Yes Man shortly before this one came out with Jim Carrey. But what I remember him specifically for was the, I think it was 2007 film Midnight Meat Train, which is based off of a Clyde Barker book. And I think that's definitely my favorite Bradley Cooper film. And you know, Justin Bartha, he's part of the main four guys, but he's not actually with the people as they're going around retracing their steps from the night before, because that's who they're looking for throughout the whole film. And when I watched part 2 and part 3, they just kind of relegate him to being a person who's calling them on the phone saying, oh, well, you guys better get it together and get back here because people are starting to get worried and freaked out. And it's almost like he was sidelined. I wish they would have gave him a little bit more to do, or let him actually have something more to do with, you know, part 2 or part 3, because them looking for him in the first one was fine, but it's just, you know, he wasn't known as one of the main three, the main wolf pack, even though he was in the wolf pack, which that's the name that Stu, or Zach Galifianakis' character, gives to the guys, the group of friends. And Mike Epps also is in this film, and then he's not in the second one, but you do see him return in the third one. And he's a different Doug that they end up kind of bargaining for and getting, but he ends up being instrumental in helping them solve their mystery. There was a ton to love about the first Hangover film, and considering 2 more films came after it, I mean, you know, that definitely shows that it was part of pop culture and embedded there. And looking forward to Hangover Part 2. So this one came out 2 years after the first one in 2011. And, you know, you have the whole cast of the Wolfpack, the main people. And there's also actually a brief cameo by Paul Giamatti. And there was actually supposed to be a small cameo of Mel Gibson in a tattoo shop. But they ended up taking that out because the cast and the crew protested before they got started, because they said, I guess they didn't want to work with Mel Gibson. So this was 2011. I mean, Mel Gibson had appeared in the other film recently in 2017. He was recently cast. So maybe he's starting to make a comeback, but in 2011, they just really didn't want anything to do with him. It was nearly Liam Neeson in that role, but it ended up going to Nick Cassavetes.
So we just have a couple of questions. We're trying to figure out what went down last night.
What went down? Take a look what you did outside. Half the neighborhood went down.
So, record-breaking opening weekend, $10.4 million, which, I mean, that's a lot. That's just at the midnight showings. So, you know, imagine the people who all wanted to go out and see this film. And I think I definitely saw it on opening weekend, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it was the midnight showing, but it's possible we might have gone to one of those. This did end up grossing at $587 million worldwide, the most successful film of the trilogy. So, I mean, just look at that and what it was able to accomplish. Considering it was the sequel, too, I mean, you knew we were going to get a third one afterward. Now, Mike Tyson, I had mentioned in the first Hangover, but he also makes a cameo in the second one, too. And that's a lot of fun. You see him at the end there. Now, when they did production for this, they were wondering, so what are we going to do? Are we going to do the same thing? Are we going to do just a straight up regular film? Or is it going to be the same formula of them having a hangover and waking up from a blackout?
You're the bearded devil! You liked it. You smiled at me when I held up the bag of marshmallows. Because I like marshmallows!
They actually ended up copying and pasting that same formula. And a lot of critics had some issues with it, saying like, you know, come on, give us an original film. Why did you just give us the same movie over again? And they have a point there, but considering they moved it to Bangkok, Thailand, that definitely added to the film and added to the whole mystery of everything.
Your attitude is not helping. I'm sorry, it's 100 degrees and we don't have a plan, and all we've done is buy him hats and sodas.
What? It's a bag of Fanta!
Sitting there watching it, it was such a different film than the first one, because Vegas and Thailand, very different places. And then, you know, you got a lot more of Leslie Chow in this one, played by Ken Jeong. And he's kind of a friend of the Wolfpacks. He ends up in Thailand because Alan lets him know, hey, you know, come on out to Thailand for Stu's wedding. And you get a lot more of him in this one, even more so, I think, than you do of him in the third one. So this one is definitely Leslie Chow's film, I feel like. I actually ended up seeing this one 2 times in the cinema. It was just one of those films where it was out and people had saw it, and you go with a group of friends, you go with another group of friends, and it was fun. Now, Brian Callen has a pretty distinct cameo in this. He also had a cameo in the first one. He's a comedian and actor, and he ends up having a cameo in the third film, too. There's actually, if you sit and you watch, there's a decent amount of celebrity cameos, not to mention Todd Phillips makes cameos in all 3 of the films. So he's kind of, you know, going with his inner Hitchcock and putting himself in his movies. But it's actually a lot of fun, and you know, it's one of those things like, oh, there's Todd Phillips. What's actually pretty cool too is Stu wakes up from his hangover with a Mike Tyson tattoo on his face, and that's one of those things because, you know, in the first one he ends up pulling his tooth out and waking up without a tooth.
We should see if we can squeeze the old man to cover the bachelor party.
That's good.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is the bachelor party.
And then in this one, you know, there he is getting a full-on tattoo. So, and then again, you know, he sung the song on the water there in Thailand as they're heading from one spot to the next. Now, I think they should have done a lot more on the water there in Thailand, although I know it's really expensive to film on the water and film with water just because of all the logistics with it. But there's a scene where they take Chow's speedboat and they're going through, you know, the waters of Thailand, and it's beautiful. It's not only beautiful, but it's exciting, and it's actually really cool too. You know, they ask Alan's character, like, are you able to drive a boat? And he's like, oh, I was practically raised in yacht clubs. So this was a bit of a rehash, but as I had mentioned, I feel like because they changed the setting drastically, it added to the film, and it wasn't as much of a rehash. I actually really enjoyed the whole cinema experience of going to see this one at the movies, even seeing it twice.
Thank you.
It's gonna be fun.
Phil, put the prescription pad back.
And this again was just like the first one, but everybody was already locked and loaded for laughs, and they knew they were going to be laughing in the second one, so they came ready. And that's probably why it made over $500 million at the box office. Looking forward to Hangover Part 3. So there were 2 years in between all of these films, which that's pretty impressive considering they were able to just churn these out like that. And they were all pretty good too. So in this one, you get all the main people, but you finally get this character named Marshall, who's played by John Goodman.
I told him to. I'm Marshall. And whether you know it or not, we all have something in common.
And I'm so glad they brought him into the fold. And in the very first one, Mike Epps' character, Doug, says that he's working with this guy, Marshall, and he mentions Marshall. So then they finally turn things around full circle and bring him back in the third one. Melissa McCarthy also has a role in this as a love interest for Alan. And that's a pretty fun scene to see the two of them acting with each other, and you could tell they're both just ready for comedy there.
He pawned a gold brick. The thing's worth 400 grand. He took 18,000.
Did he say where he was going?
I'm sorry. Was I talking to you?
And I know a lot of people were saying they were maybe tired of the fact that it's like, oh, they wake up with no memory of the night before and what happened, and they have to piece everything together. So they made this one more of just a straight up movie.
My name's Alan and I bought a giraffe. He's all mine. He's super friendly.
And the main focus is the fact that Alan has had some issues, so they decided to bring him to get help.
You murdered a wild animal. It's national news. You don't want to know the checks I had to write to fix this.
Oh, please, we're rich.
And while they're on the way to getting him help, they end up getting kidnapped by John Goodman's crew, who explains to them, you know, Leslie Chow is stolen from me and y'all have to make it right. Otherwise, we're going to steal your friend Doug and do away with him. And now, this one was a much different film than the first two, because you actually see people losing their lives in this one. And there's violence and a lot of darkness compared. It's still really funny. But this one, the stakes are so much higher, it seems like, than the other two films, because you know, John Goodman has their friend. And unfortunately, this film only made $362 million. So, I mean, compared to the other movies, this was the lowest pull at the box office. And I'm curious what the drop-off was there, or why. Maybe people just were like, we've already seen the first two, we don't really care so much for the third one, or at this point, people were maybe waiting for DVD or for streaming even, because I mean, 2013, Netflix was really starting to bloom there. Now, I like the fact that Mike Epps does make a return in this film, and it kind of connects it all the way to the first film. I like the fact that they did that. And another thing is, I don't know if you guys know, but Mike Vallely, he's a pro skater. Now, he was in the first one and the third one. In the first one, I think he delivers tuxedos to the guys as they're heading to the wedding for Doug. And then in the third one, he's an interventionist for Alan. And what's also pretty cool about this one was the fact that they did bring back Mr. Chow, played by Ken Jeong. And he's kind of one of the main driving motivators for the whole story and the whole plot. And I think they really do justice for his character and kind of are able to close out all the stories for all of the guys in this film. And now, I'm wondering, what if they did do memory loss for the third film, too?
Well, it's just a strange request. This drug in this amount and a pack of syringes, it's just a little weird.
Yeah.
What if all three of these movies were about blackouts and them not remembering the night before?
I need to call up a prescribing doctor and make sure everything's okay.
Aha! Well, you're in luck, because I actually am the prescribing doctor.
Oh boy, another red flag.
How would the third one have been changed, and would it have made more money? You know, that's a curious question. So, considering this was one of the last big comedy movies that hit theaters before streaming really took over, you know, you didn't really see movies of this kind anymore. Things that you see now are comedies that are direct from streaming. And there are some large comedies here and there, but you just don't get them all that much. Another thing that I noticed about The Hangover 3 is this is kind of a neo-Western. I mean, they're out there in Vegas, and they're out, they head to Mexico at one point, and they're out in the desert. Very Western-like. And then, you know, there's the violence and the stakes and the kidnapped person and the money and everything that's involved. So I think this could definitely be considered a neo-Western dark comedy. But please let me know what y'all think of the first three Hangover movies. I mean, there's a whole lot more to say about all of them, but I mean, they definitely stood the test of time and have stuck around as a comedy franchise. And Old School. Now, I just watched this yesterday. This was Todd Phillips' film from 2003, and this was really, really popular when it came out. You got Luke Wilson, Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn, And, you know, just those three alone, the comedy playing off of each other, it's so much fun. The film is actually inspired by Todd Phillips' own documentary that he directed in 1998. It was called Frat House, and it was all about the fraternity life. So that actually connects a lot of the dots here with Todd Phillips' films if you look at the pattern of his films and, you know, mainly the plot. It's kind of about men who don't necessarily want to grow up, or maybe they want to regress back to being in their late teens or early 20s. And it's a lot of fun. So Luke Wilson's character, Mitch, needs to get a new place because his relationship has ended. So he ends up getting this house next to a college, but because the dean was actually someone who was bullied by him years before when they went to school together, was bullied by him and his friends, he said, no, like, we're not going to allow you to live here. So they're forced to turn it into a fraternity house in order to keep it going, and they pretty much recruit everybody. It's a lot of fun, and you know, Will Ferrell, we'd already seen him in other films. He was already establishing himself through Saturday Night Live, too. But to see him really go crazy in this one, you know, there's that scene where he says, we're going streaking, and the production mentioned that he actually genuinely streaked for the film, so I bet there were probably a lot of laughs on set that day. Vince Vaughn's character, too. I mean, the Beanie guy, that's his character's name, Beanie. And one of the things that Vince Vaughn does is he starts talking, and then he starts talking really quick and kind of explaining the situation. Hey, I own 6 speaker cities. You know, I'm worth so much. I can get as many speakers here as I need to. He does it a lot better, obviously. But a lot of that was actually improvised by him. And which I really like about Vince Vaughn is he actually reminds me a lot of like maybe my parents and some of my family in Chicago, because that's where he's from. Pretty interesting too, the new Madden game that's coming out, I think it's going to be Madden 27. That commercial has Vince Vaughn. He's wearing the Chicago Bears jacket, and he is kind of talking quick, and he's talking about his Bears, and he's doing the Vince Vaughn thing, which you saw him doing that in a lot of movies moving forward. You definitely saw that in Wedding Crashers, which came out after this film. And this was definitely a sleeper hit, but it's turned into a cult classic since then, just because it's, you know, constantly quotable. You're my boy, Blue. I mean, I've heard that a million times. And it was part of the big 2000s R-rated comedy boom that was happening, which included some of Phillips' other films, too. Now, this was an excellent follow-up to his film Road Trip. I saved Road Trip to the end, but, you know, that actually might be my favorite. Old School, though, it came out just 3 years after Road Trip, and was a different movie, but similar at the same time. And, you know, I think he did a really good job with that. Now, Andy Dick probably is my favorite cameo of the whole film. We were mentioning about how Todd Phillips has a lot of cameos himself and other funny celebrities in his films. And, you know, look out for that if y'all go check this movie out. And then, you know, Jeremy Piven as the dean, who plays kind of the main villain for everyone. He's really good in that. And he plays a really good character of being a jerk. And you kind of see that also in his entourage when he plays Ari Gold. And I also love the decathlon scene at the end of the film, because they say, well, y'all are a school organization, so you have to be involved in school activities. So they force everybody to compete in a decathlon. There's the gymnastics scene with Will Ferrell's Frank the Tank twirling ribbon around. That's definitely pretty funny. And then Sean William Scott also, I definitely wanted to mention his cameo too, because he plays a petting zoo manager, and they're at a birthday party, and Will Ferrell accidentally shoots himself in the neck with a tranquilizer dart, and then he ends up like pretty much passing out and having this kind of crazy tranquilizer trip. And Sean William Scott really he's a lot of fun as the petting zoo manager too. So I definitely would recommend Old School. you know, out of all of these movies on this list, this is the one that I've seen the least, but I really enjoyed it. And, you know, really they're directly connected to his other films too. Like all of his films are very similar, have very similar themes. So he seems to have got that formula down really well. Now, my favorite Todd Phillips movie, I think probably because I saw this with my family, was Road Trip.
All right, so we're driving. You coming? What else am I gonna do? Stay here and learn? Road Trip.
This was a hard R-rated, you know, comedy film. And I remembered I had wanted to see it. I think it was about 10 or something, 11. And I wanted to see the movie, but I didn't know. I thought we probably weren't going to be able to see it, or I'd have to wait for it on HBO or something. But I remember my mom was like, "Oh no, I'd like to see Road Trip. I love road trip movies."
There's no evidence of struggle, no blood or clothing, anything like that. And we hadn't found a single drop of semen yet.
And we rented it, and we sat and we watched it as a family.
We've been coming here for 20 years.
We've only been open 8 years, sir.
Do it now.
We all really enjoyed it, though. I remember that specifically. So that's probably why it has that soft spot in my heart. You know, Todd Phillips has this cameo where he's on a bus. So look out for that scene when they're on the bus, when you all watch this.
You have the most beautiful feet. Would you like a foot massage?
This is about a guy who's in college and he's in a long distance relationship with someone across the country. And a compromising tape of him and another woman accidentally gets sent to his girlfriend in Austin. And there's a scene where they confuse Austin for Boston, and Amy Smart's character gets sent to the wrong spot. And I liked her in that film. She actually, that's kind of Amy Smart's like big comedy start in that. And you see her have a big explosion in popularity after that in other films. You know, this film also made this film made $119 million on a $16 million budget.
We can make it.
Make it? You mean jump it? No, absolutely not.
So, I mean, think about what that meant for Todd Phillips and his career. Without this success of Road Trip that you get in 2000, you don't get Old School, you don't get Starsky and Hutch for sure, and you definitely don't get the Hangover trilogy without that. So he really put himself in good position by making this film.
Bullcrap, this is ridiculous. Why didn't you tell us where you were?
Because I knew you'd get mad. See, look how mad you are.
I'm not mad.
And probably one of my favorite people in the film is Tom Green. I think for sure, definitely Tom Green. And he plays this strange narrator named Barry, who's been at the college for a really long time. And he stays behind to watch their snake. And there's a hilarious scene with him, a snake, and a rat. And another great scene, my favorite scene of the whole film, is the French toast scene. So they're in a diner, and I'm not going to spoil too much more, but Horatio Sands is just absolutely hilarious in that. I have watched that scene so many times. And, you know, I just would definitely recommend it. And then DJ Qualls plays a pretty big character in this. And this also really put him on the map. After that, he was in the film The New Guy as the star, and he was in, you know, a lot of other stuff after this. So this really helped jumpstart his popularity. And speaking of jumping, there's a scene where they jump a car in this, and just the dialogue and everything in this movie, it's absolutely hilarious, and that's why it's my favorite Todd Phillips film. There's also a funny scene with Grandpa towards the end of the movie, which he's probably one of the more memorable parts of the film. And I would highly recommend everybody go out and check out Road Trip. It was Ivan Reitman who actually saw Todd Phillips' independent documentaries and said, hey, you know, I need to bring this guy in, and that's how he was able to make Road Trip. So, you know, looking at Todd Phillips' films, I would highly recommend y'all go check all of these out, and he's got some other good ones in his filmography too. So, let me know what you think about Todd Phillips' films and what your favorites are. And I'd just like to go ahead and remind everybody to like, comment, subscribe. You know, send me messages about any topics or anything that you want me to cover. And I would like to wish everybody an excellent day and stay in the cinema.